Hi there, I'm Gary, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here before. So today is box opening day, the start of the kit making week, and the kit of the week this week, as you may already know, is the Supermarine Seafire F.XVII in 1/48 scale from Airfix. I'll start off by having a look at the history of the kit and what competition there is for it in the marketplace. I'll have a look in some detail at all the parts you get, what you get for your money, the decal sheet, the marking options and so on. It's not in the current Airfix range, but it's really easy to get them through numerous sites. So it's a good kit and it shares a lot of build with other Seafire and indeed Spitfire kits in the current range. If you enjoy the show, and I really hope you do, please remember to give me the Imperial thumbs up on the button down there. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Click on that small logo down there in the bottom right. And remember to press on the bell button to get notification of future videos. And if you'd like to support future production, you can do that through any of my partner programs. All the information for those are where they belong in the information box below. And of course, you can use super thanks if you prefer. So let's get on and have a look at the kit of the Supermarine Seafire F.XVII in 1/48 from Airfix. This kit of the Seafire F.XVII was released as a new tooling in 2011. This was an early part of the wave of new toolings of the Spitfire family Airfix undertook in 1/48. In fact, the same year as the release of the Spitfire 12, a kit that made a reappearance from Airfix earlier this year. Maybe it's time for this Seafire to reappear too. Other Seafires made by Airfix include the FR-47, the last of the Spitfire line, a kit first released as a new tool in 1996 and re-released in 2012. There was also a kit of the Seafire 3C, dating from 2002. This was based on the 1977 kit of the Spitfire 5B, with a different fillet under the tail for the arrestor hook assembly. The only other F.XVII available in 1/48 has been this very rare resin kit from New Zealand, so I can find out very little about it, but I do believe it was limited to just 100 copies. The Seafire 15, with the original raised back canopy but with the Griffin engine, was made by Special Hobby as a new tool in 2012 and was subsequently reboxed under the Revel name in 2013. Other than those, the Supermarine Seafire is very poorly represented at 1/48 scale. Here's the box then. Looking okay. It is a second-hand one, so it has got a little bashed in someone's store over the years and in the postage, but nonetheless, still in pretty good condition. Lovely piece of box art, of course, as is usual these days, showing actually the aircraft I'm making, the 800 NAS aircraft on board HMS Triumph. And in the background you can see the rather cool wing folding mechanism, all manually folded of course in those days. Inside the kit we have the usual suspects. We have a big plastic bag full of bits of plastic. We have the instruction sheets as a leaflet. These of course are the slightly older ones. They're not in colour and they're not shaded, but they still are very good. They're still fine. And then of course a large sheet of decals. 2011 this was made, and Airfix had fortunately gone to cartograph by this point, so the decals look fantastic even though they're not the newest I've ever used. We'll have a look at all these bits in detail in a minute. This is Sprue A. It contains the fuselage, the structural parts for the cockpit, propeller, parts of the tail as well, pilot, some weapons and so on. And then we have sprue B, which is essentially the wings, top and bottom sections, folded and unfolded. If you want to do it unfolded, then there's single piece wings, top surfaces. If you're doing folded wings, then the top surfaces are split. So you've got the option there. There is one piece missing here. It's actually in the bag. It's just one of these that fell off the sprue over the years. Multiple choices of wheels here for various versions, I assume, whether they're flying or whether they're landed. If you've got the landed ones, they've got the weighting on them here. If they're flying, they're these ones. And there's some half blanks here for if you have retracted undercarriage. And then we have sprue C. We have two canopies, one for open canopy, one for closed. We have the windscreen, we have an insert for the ID lights that go under the belly, we have the gun sight, and then we have this strange sort of trapezoidal shape thing here that looks like it might be an extra armor perspex panel to go inside the windshield. Taking a look at some of the parts in a bit more detail now. Having a look at the plastic. Plastic feels good, it feels solid, it feels like good quality plastic actually. You know, sometimes it feels a bit milky and a bit soft. This feels like real plastic, if you see what I mean. If you make a lot of models, you'll definitely know what I mean. It feels like it's the sort of thing that you can trim accurately and place accurately. Let's hope that is indeed the case. As you can see, the details are, you know, the panel lines and all that are quite deep on this, and the fittings around the engine compartment, the quick release screws, DSOS screws or whatever, they're very deep, very, very pronounced. Now, this is going to be painted largely in extra dark sea greys, so that actually might help pick out some of this detail if it's nice and deep. Big complaints as usual about anything to do with Spitfires in any scale. Here the sprue comes right across the top of the engine, which isn't so much of an issue, except there's a coolant, it's like the glycol tank filler, you might not better see it, we'll see it later on, is split in half, and that is always a proper pain in the backside to get that right and to get that rescribed so it's actually a circle. It really is a pain in the ass. You do need, I think I've seen, what was it, the Mark 18 I did not long ago. It's actually a separate panel on the top, and that makes life so much easier. So Airfix designers, if you're listening in, I hope you've done that on the 124th, because that really, getting that again is a pain. Anyway, rant over. Pilot figure is actually quite nicely moulded. Slightly, I'd say the head is a little bit too large and a bit overdone. But, you know, when it's 1/48 sitting inside a cockpit, I don't think it's a problem, especially if the canopy's closed. I wonder if this is supposed to be one of those caricatures they used to have. Nice touches, you can see his shirt and tie, because of course Royal Naval pilots would be properly dressed when they're flying their Spitfires, don't you know? But it's actually a really quite nicely moulded pilot. If it is slightly cartoony and caricature-y, which is probably a joke, an in-joke in the design department at the time. But the pieces look fine. You know, they look nicely detailed. They look cleanly moulded. I'm trying to look for any sort of massive signs of flash, and I can't see any at all. Around the control column, that's very nice. You do get two options for the tail hook. So if you're doing one with the aircraft like flying, sat on a stick or whatever, and you can have the tail hook down, and of course when the tail hook goes down it extends as well to get the stinger extends to give the clearance for the hook. When you're flying or when you're parked, the hook's up and the stinger's retracted as well, so you've got both options there, which is very good. Oh, on the rockets are single piece mouldings. Here it's just the tails that go on separately, which is not too bad as long as the tails sit properly. Sometimes they don't, but it should be okay. Inside the cockpit walls, Do you know what? It's not too bad. There's a little bit of detail on the ribs here. It's a tiny bit of wiring. You can take off the door as well, and there is like an open door as well, which I will be doing because I like a door open if my plane's parked. The instrument panel looks okay. I guess there's probably a decal to cover that, but I'll probably dry brush these because there's quite a lot of raised detail there, so I'll probably just do a bit of dry brushing, then a bit of tiny sort of suggestions of needles and stuff like that. Again, fairly nicely moulded parts here. In fact, I'll go so far as to say very nicely moulded. I'm actually quite happy with what it looks like. And it's the same on the wings. As I mentioned before, you've got a single piece lower wing section if you're doing the unfolded wings. There's slots here for the flap mechanisms. You've got full width flaps, ailerons and so on, so forth. Again, deep panel lines, which will help make the thing look pretty at the end. It'll also help get the decals into these recesses later on. Okay, there's the wheels. As I mentioned, some of them are weighted, some of them are not, depending on whether you're on the ground or not. And there's also some which are cast as half size wheels. These, well, half depth wheels. These are for if you've got the undercarriage retracted. Otherwise, again, very nicely moulded. The oleo springs here are very nice. Oleo guides are very nice. Everything looks cool. The undercarriage, I think that's, I don't know if there's the two versions or whether that's compressed and uncompressed. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have a look into that. And the flaps, all the flap mechanisms have got nice deep ribbing on them as well. So the flaps will look good if you're having the flaps deployed. Of course I'm not, because my plane's parked. This is where the transparency goes for the ID lights. We'll got some transparent colours for that, and then we'll back them. What would be nice, of course, would be to put an LED in, but I'm not that kind of modeler. Not yet, anyway. One day I will. One day I'll do one of those. So there we go. Obviously, the wing folds have the main section of wing that folds, and then the wing tip folds as well. Because of the structure of the aircraft, the wing fold, the first wing fold, had to be quite far in. And as a result, the wing tips would strike the hangar ceilings when they were struck below on the very small aircraft carriers we used to have. So they then also folded the wing tips. And it's all done by hand, all done by burly sailors, not sailors, naval airmen, I should say. Wouldn't let a sailor touch a thing as delicate as a Seafire. Naval aviators would go and do that for you. The wing fold mechanism, here it is. There's inserts as well for the wing folds as well. We'll see how those look later on. They look okay at the moment. And we can sort of give them a bit of weathering and a bit of messing around as well. The instruction leaflet is very straightforward. A4 size, one page of things about the history of the aircraft in various languages, one things about general instructions, translation of the icons, and then into the build. And it's fine. It's not the modern, fully shaded, multicoloured, well done you've made this part sort of thing, but they're clear, concise, follow the regular upper three-quarter orthographic view, so it's all very straightforward. Lots and lots of options. They give you each option for, flying with the wheels up, flying with the wheels down, or sitting on the ground with the wheels down here, and then with the wings folded, the wings not folded, so on and so forth. It's not a complex build, I will say. There's not a massive amount to it, I hope. So it should be relatively straightforward. There's nothing that immediately jumps up at me and screams, oh, that's going to be a real problem for you, mate. The undercarriage, oh, I see, yeah, well, now I see. But remember I was talking about the two different types of undercarriage. One is for when the wheels are up, and one's for when the wheels down. That makes a lot more sense. Oh, all the different options for flaps up and down and this and that and everything else. Yeah, very straightforward, very good. Should be simple enough. On to the markings that are available, and the first one is for an aircraft of number 800 Naval Air Squadron on board HMS Triumph, and when docked the aircraft would disembark to Hal Far Airfield in Malta as part of the Mediterranean Fleet. All very nice. It can come with rockets, and I guess this is a practice round and a live round. Inert round, I should say, and a live round. All sorts of options for various things. Not too many decals to do, not too many stencils, of course. The second option is for an aircraft of 741, not 714, 741 Naval Air Squadron, which was the operational flying training unit at the Air Warfare School at St Mirren in Cornwall. In 1947, part of a training unit, of course, it has to have plenty of yellow to be identified as a training aircraft. Also, the codes are in yellow as well. Actually, quite a nice scheme. Were it not for the fact my father had been in 800 and I want to build that one, this is the scheme I would probably build. And the last decal option here is for 1832 Naval Air Squadron, which is a reserve unit based at Culham in Oxfordshire in 1950. For those of you not familiar with the geography of Great Britain, Culham is probably about 80 or 90 miles in any direction from the nearest seawater, Oxfordshire being completely landlocked. But I guess in 1950, even then, 5 years after the war, decent airfields were still in pretty short supply. And onto the decals, and by 2011 Airfix had made a deal with Cartograph to produce their decals, and I'm very glad of it. Here you can see the decals look really nice, really good colour, strong colours, dense colours, and very, very sharply printed. Really, really nice decals. Down here we have the decals that are common to all of them, so these are mainly the stencils about this, that and everything else. Up here, these are the ones that are common to the A and B schemes, so that's the 800 Squadron and 741 Squadron aircraft in the 40s, late 40s, and then of course by 1950 the Fleet Air Arm had moved over to the different wider white bits on the roundels. So this is for the aircraft from 1832 NAS. This is the aircraft specifically from 800, code 177, SX358 with the P for Triumph. And here the aircraft from 741 Naval Air Squadron, the training aircraft. And here we have close-up of the decals. I can zoom in more, but then the zoom's digital, so the quality of the image goes down, which is a bit pointless. So this is the decal at the closest I can get with normal optical lens. I don't think I can get any closer than that and have it in focus. No, that's about it. So they're pretty good. Yeah, Kaufman starter. To give you an idea, there's my finger. So these are very, very small decals indeed. Yeah, complete finger. Very small details and nice and crisp and clear. So they'll be easily readable on the final aircraft. There we go then. A good enough looking kit. Nothing too massively complicated, I hope. But of the more recent Airfix quality and design, so should go together quite well. Why don't you join me tomorrow and find out on day one of the build. Do keep coming back. If you subscribe to the channel and set the bell button, of course, you'll get notifications when the new videos come out. And of course, any video you watch, please, if you like it, say so by clicking on the like button. More likes we get, the more the channel gets promoted by YouTube. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I will see you next time.